soul food. Hit me.
Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856.
Soul food. Henry's soul food. What do we need? Soul food. Henry's soul food.
Welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show, brought to you by Golden Crust Bakery, the fastest growing Caribbean-owned franchise in the United States. Golden Crust is committed to the delivery of quality food and excellent customer service. Visit them today at goldencrustbakery.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Armstrong Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Reese, Dr. Fleischer, thank you so much for joining us. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Ladies, Dr. Fleischer, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good, thank you. Dr. Reese, how are you? Where's our other host, Dr. Fleischer? They say she's on the board, but we're not hearing her.
I don't know. I'm not hearing her either.
They said she hung up. That's not like her.
No, not like her at all, unless she was receiving some
feedback.
Something, yeah,
well,
or something that indicated that.
Let's hope that she will call back. Obviously, much has changed since we've talked last.
Yes.
Especially on the Syrian front.
Yes.
Seems like the president is singing a new tune.
Yes. But of course, he has always been reluctant, I think, to go to war.
Is that leadership? Is that leadership? Reluctancy?
I'm sorry, what?
Is that leadership?
What isn't leadership, I suppose, is not having a firm stand on what your choice is in either direction.
Isn't that what reluctancy is?
The problem is that he knew there was no way that Congress was going to support him.
Okay. Your point being?
Well, my point being that if even though he might have felt that this was the right thing to do at this time, that with no support, it was fruitless to go ahead and continue to promote this idea. I mean, the only other choice would have been to then promote it as an executive order, which he was not willing to do.
Are you implying that Congress should have supported our command-in-chief?
No, I'm not. I did not agree that we should go to war. I mean, the last time we spoke, you know that I was against that. I'm very much in favor of continuing to try some sort of diplomatic solution, and I'm hoping that one may result from Kerry and Lavrov working together on this.
You know, what is that?
Hi, Armstrong. Hi, Bobby.
They said you left us.
Here you are.
You're having troubles on your end, I hear.
No, we're not. We're not having any trouble. We're not having any trouble. Dr. Fleisch?
Well, you had trouble getting me connected.
Well, somebody did. Let's put it like that. Let me
the lovely man who answers said, I'm sorry, we've been having some technical problems here.
And that makes sense.
I take him at his word.
Yes, and so do I, Daquan. Ladies, I've been doing some soul searching. I have been doing some thinking. Thinking is not a bad thing, and I just want to test out.
Not a bad thing at all.
I hope I can hear you better.
Oh, you can hear me just well. Can't you hear me?
It's a little faint.
That's okay. We'll make it all good. So look, I've concluded that we are not born equal. Did you hear that, Dr. Reese?
Not born equal, yes.
We're not born equal. One of the founding principles of our great republic is stated in the first line, second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. The idea of equality governs our interactions and expectations. But the simple truth, Dr. Reese and Dr. Fleischer, of the matter is that all men or women are not created equal. And because we are not all equivalent, there are certain facts that are just unavoidable. Some people are born with innate talents. Some people are smarter than others. Some people are born with more opportunities. And some people have a greater drive to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And however, we as humans living in America, living in the world, can overcome one of these inequities and not let the other limits ourselves. Because innate talents can be anything from artistic gifts to athletic prowess. Mozart was born with a gift for music, and we all know that his fathers pushed Mozart to practice and perform against his will. And despite his resistance, embodied he resists, and the eventual estrangement from his father, Mozart's gift was home, and the joy of realizing the full potential of his talents gave us one of the most exalted composers in history. Now, Mozart and all others with inherent abilities had to be pushed to become great, sometimes from within and sometimes externally. Intrinsic attitude, which is something that we don't talk about enough, can only get you so far, but it cannot guarantee success. We cannot control what talents we have, only that we must recognize and nurture them in others and ourselves. And we all, Dr. Fleischer, Dr. Reese, we've talked about this on the air with your interactions with other people. We all have something that we can do well, but we were all not meant to be great athletes, artists, inventors, or to be rich in money. But developing our own particular talents to their maximum, I believe, which is the subject of our conversation for the first part, is that I believe if we maximize those talents, we can find success and happiness even without fame and fortune. Dr. Reese?
I absolutely agree with that, Armstrong. I mean, of course, we have to define success. And when you say success and happiness, that's a good way to put it, because I think one of our problems in the culture we're living in and developing is that success seems to be defined by so many people as fame or money, when, as you say, there are other ways to look at whether you're having a successful life. And it's true, we are not born with the same innate talents and abilities, but we all have something we can develop. And I think the idea of equality is being born equal has more to do with striving for a world where we have equal opportunities, where just whoever you are, whether it's because of the circumstances in which you were born, whether it's your religion or your race, that can't hamper your ability to try to develop yourself.
Dr. Fleischer?
Well, I think that when the fact that we are born equal, it means that we are born equal under the law. I don't think that I think that's the equality that we are talking about here.
But we're not born equal under the law.
That's the ideal, though.
We're not?
No, it's an idea. Dr. Reese is correct. It's an idea, but in principle, it is not true.
Well,
it's
but that's what we're striving for.
Yes.
That's what what
Yeah.
our laws, what our government, what our Constitution is striving for. No, we are not perfect. We haven't achieved perfection, but this is the goal. This is the aim, to be equal under the law. I don't think that anybody who wrote the Constitution would argue with you that people are not do not all have equal gifts at birth, or even equal opportunities at birth. All of that you said, I think you're absolutely right. These are great differences.
Well, let me come back to something to you, Dr. Fleischer, that Dr. Reese mentioned, which I found to be quite important. She asked, what is this thing we call success? I think one of the other inequalities that we don't deal with is intelligence. Some people think that brain power is the key to success. You and I...
I'm sorry, brain power is...
the key to success.
Yes, okay.
And you and Dr. Reese and I know plenty of brilliant poor people and dumb rich people. Mm-hmm. Smarts has nothing to do with it. Sure, brains give you an edge, but it is not the X factor of success. Albert Einstein was a genius, but you do not need to discover the secrets of the universe to make a better life for yourself. Right. And what is more important is the willingness to learn and continue to seek knowledge. You can have a room temperature IQ and learn how to start a business, provide a service, or create art. Mm-hmm. And we have met all kinds of people. We're going to come back. Dr. Reese, Dr. Fleisch. Boy, that segment went by fast. Oh, my goodness. We're coming back. We're going to have this conversation with Armstrong Williams, 1-866-620-6620. We'll be back.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Crust's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Crust near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrustBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams, expressing what we mean by conservative traditional values.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And we're back with What is Success? Dr. Bobby Fleischer, Dr. Thelma Reese. They were successful daughters. They were successful mothers. They are successful friends. They are successful philanthropists. They are successful broadcasters. They are successful educators. They are successful businesswomen. They are successful people who have a good heart that give their best. They're successful in giving wisdom and judgment and wise counsel to friends. I can go on and on and on and on.
Right. Oh, my goodness. Keep going.
And they are especially successful in inspiring the best out of mankind. Dr. Fleischer,
Yes.
she asked about success. I wanted to define it.
Define success?
Yes. What is it to you?
To me, oh dear, you always ask the hard questions. Well, to be successful, I feel I need to have a goal. I need to work toward it.
So an aim and a purpose.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, and I like to think that I reach that goal, although I can't say that I have reached every goal that I've set for myself. That doesn't mean that I'm a failure. I don't think that it may mean that I need to reset the goal. It may mean that I haven't considered everything that was involved in reaching that goal. But yes, an aim, a purpose, a goal, and working toward it is what I think of. And I'm thinking, when I think success, I think, well, what makes me happy? And of course, that's one thing. That doesn't have to do with the relationships. That's a whole other kind of success.
You know,
the feeling that I have successful relationships. If I have a relationship that is not successful, that makes me unhappy, and I either try to correct it, or deal with it. But aiming toward the goal, the journey, I think, is as much a part of success as the reaching.
You know, Dr. Reese, we all have met people that were born on third base and think they hit a triple, the old silver spoon syndrome. And, you know, I was listening to Dr. Fleischer, and I was thinking that the wealth of family does give one opportunities that most can only dream of, whether that is a two-parent household where they really love and respect and set the best examples for their children and support them unconditionally and discipline them where it's necessary. And that wealth could also mean you accumulate great monetary wealth where you use for the good of others, where you empower communities, you empower churches, you empower charities. So obviously it can give you something that only you can dream of, because when you can pass on those values, when you can pass on that work ethic, that discipline, that the ability not to discriminate and judge people by their race or their gender, their preference, that is great wealth because you don't limit yourself in life. So my point is, though, that regardless of brains or talents, their chances of success are greater than most simply due to their greater access to resources. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about parents who set a moral, striving, and values, virtue-centered example for their children. And so, but however, though, silver spoons do not mean happiness and prosperity is assured. They still must take the initiative to use those resources given to them by their parents to become their own success. Too much time is wasted vying, envying, and vilifying people. I mean, they had no control over being born into such a life. To fritter away time, resenting them is like hating a tiger because it was born with stripes. So my final point is that the final inequality, in my opinion, is the drive to succeed. And I think this is key. The fact of the matter is that it is the only inequality everyone can change. And I think that's important. And
I think that's a really important point that you're making. I think that's crucial in so many people's lives. And it's the one variable, I guess, that can really make a difference that we can actually see, because we do see people who are, as you say, born on third base and think they hit a triple because they've been given all kinds of gifts, gifts of support and gifts of even of intelligence and family and all kinds of things, who really kind of fritter away their lives, it appears, anyway. What is missing in those people is somehow, I suppose, that kind of drive that says, I have to achieve for myself. What I'm given by others, what circumstance has given me, is simply not enough to make it as a human being. It still boils down to who am I? Who do I discover myself to be? And what can I contribute to the world around me? And I think if you can't answer those questions when you reach the exalted ages that we are reaching, then you don't feel so successful.
You know, Dr. Fleischer, she just said something that is so important. I'm hanging on every word. And what she's saying is that the fact of the matter is that the talented flop without motivation, geniuses fail without inspiration, and the scions flounder without ambition. The willingness to take risks is paramount to success. Sometimes you will fail, but failure is how we learn to triumph. The only sure way to lose is to do nothing.
Yes, I certainly agree with that. And I know people who do nothing, and they're not happy. I'm not sure why they do nothing. I think you're right about the risk. They do nothing because they're afraid to risk that they may fail at what they're doing, and so they choose to do nothing. That's very sad.
But you know what? I think you're saying something too. I'm hanging on to your words. I think what you're telling us, and I think there's a measure of truth to it. By human nature, we are generally lazy beings. We even work hard inventing things that make life easier, microwaves, cars, remote controls. And when the government or others offer free cash and goods for existing, it is hard to say no. Sure, you may resent the giver yourself, but you still take the freebies. But you need to say no. Handouts take away drive and creativity. They act as shackles from success, and you will never satiate your hate and jealousy by taking bribes.
That's not exactly what I was saying. I was saying I wasn't judging people for being lazy. I thought I was saying that
when you say they do nothing, if you're doing nothing, it's because you're lazy.
Well, but they may be doing nothing because they're afraid to take a risk.
What is the difference?
A risk because they're afraid of failing.
What is the difference?
Being lazy is
doing nothing.
Is doing nothing. But,
yes.
But I think there's
you don't want to say it. You don't want to hold them to task. You do not want to call them lazy. You don't want to do it.
No. I think there are some people who are lazy. I'm not saying that. It's just that the people that I was talking about are people who do nothing because they're afraid that they will fail or fall if they do something.
But what you're telling them to do is that they need to change their attitude. They don't have to be especially gifted, smart, or born in the well, but they do need to be willing to fail, learn from their mistakes, and make sacrifices in order to achieve.
Yes, I certainly agree with that.
That's what you're saying. Dr. Reese?
Well, absolutely. The thing is, sometimes we have to look at why someone is doing nothing. If it's just because they refuse to change an attitude, because they will not face the fact that if they tried, something might happen that would be good, and it would be good for everybody concerned. It would be good for the people who have to carry them because they're lazy, and it would be, most of all, good for them themselves. But there are people among us who may appear lazy, but really are handicapped in some way, mentally, emotionally, that really prevents them from even trying. And anybody who has ever taught children knows that some kids, almost all kids, can do much more than people expect of them. But once in a while you do come across somebody who, through terrible circumstances, can't. And what do we do with those people?
That's why those of us who are successful, we're there to give them a safety net, to protect them.
Absolutely.
To provide shelter, to provide unconditional support.
Absolutely.
You will always have that.
Yeah. We will always have some people who need us.
But some people have the skills to drive and don't want to do it.
Oh, yeah. I think you're absolutely right.
And that's my point. Listen, we all must do more to improve the conditions around us, which ultimately will improve the conditions of our country. We'll be back. I'm Armstrong Williams. It's hot over here tonight. You better get on board. We're going to talk about something else when we return. You don't want to miss Stuart Tomc. He's coming up next on the Armstrong Williams Show. Don't go away.
Hi, Mike Reagan here. The president has just delayed his Obamacare employee mandate for 1 year. But nothing has changed. The Congressional Budget Office still predicts 7 million Americans will lose their current insurance, and thousands of rules are being implemented today. Obamacare is over 20,000 pages, almost 3 times longer than the whole IRS tax code. Worse, the IRS is now in charge of enforcing the law. You need to protect yourself, your family, and your business with the easy-to-read guide. It's called the Obamacare Survival Guide. Already a #1 New York Times bestseller, Newsmax calls it the best guide to the new law. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide today at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sports shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder Chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Let me see if I guess Stuart Tomc, former consultant to the Chief Medical Officer of the World Health Organization, is joining us. Stuart, are you on the line? No. So we'll continue with my favorite guest in the world, the Elder Chicks. I mean, what? I mean, look, it doesn't get any better than this. What? I think this conversation is a very important conversation, because what I'm trying to say is that all of us ultimately have to find the strength and the motivation to do more, and understand that we can do more, we can contribute more, we can create more. It is us, everyday people, not these people that we fawn over in political power on TV, that really make the difference. It's everyday people are still the engine of America. That you never hear about their stories, but they create new opportunities. They make America better every day. You see it every day, Dr. Reese and Dr. Fleischer. They're real people of America. You see it. And they're not looking for accolades.
Armstrong, we just finished our book about the new senior woman, and we deliberately, in writing this book, focused on just what you're saying, not on famous people. We all see these famous people, and more power to them, and we wish everybody well. But where we were looking for our role models among older women, among the new senior women in this country, was people who did just what you're talking about, who are doing it every day, who are finding not only meaning in their own lives, but somehow reaching out to other people too. And that's usually the way they find the meaning. And it's so absolutely important to the individual's life to do that, and to the life of the community. And we met people, believe me, we met people who are very well off and people who are on very, very limited incomes. And the amount of generosity is amazing among people that we met who don't have much materially themselves, but care about other people.
I know we just got an update that Stuart is finally on the line. I know he wants to discuss the connection between poor nutrition and poor physical health, and he also feels that scientific studies tell us there's a relationship between poor nutrition and poor mental health. Stuart, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. It's a tough and sobering conversation, but we need to look at the role of every factor, including nutrition, in our failing mental health as a population worldwide. So I'm not here to oversimplify anything. I just want to contribute that one part to the conversation.
Let me ask Dr. Reese to ask the first question. Dr. Reese?
Well, I think what you're talking about is so important, and we just heard I guess it was a public service announcement about children who go to bed hungry in this richest of countries. And I was talking about the fact that anybody who's taught young children knows how important it is that children get the proper nutrition. If they come to school without having been fed a decent breakfast, for instance, they are not able to function the way they need to. So what do you say about that, about kids in school and the difference it makes if they're getting the proper nutrition?
Well, I agree with you completely. I think the one part that we can add to that is, well, clearly, if you don't have any food and you've got blood sugar handling issues, which can happen as a result of that, it's going to affect your ability to concentrate. One area, however, that I think is greatly overlooked, I've been doing this interview now for the last couple of months with Back to School. I was on with a a show earlier today where the host looked up every single meal that was being fed at their local school, because some kids only get to eat the food at school. Mm-hmm. And we went through every single meal. This was painful. And we looked at the component of the diet, not just the caloric intake or the sugar content, but at the very, very critical omega-3 brain fats that are required for optimal functioning of the brain. And then we looked at the level of the omega-6s that you get from all the vegetable oils that are ubiquitous in the American diet. And we determined that from this, I shouldn't mention where it is, it's sort of inappropriate, but that this particular school, that every single meal that they were feeding was not designed to help boost brain function. There was not one fish meal. There was an overload of the omega-6s. There were not enough dark green leafy vegetables, and we expect our kids to perform on the world stage when, A, to your point, they're underfed, and when they are fed, they're overfed and they're fed the wrong stuff.
Wow. Dr. Fleischer?
What are the omega-6s, by the way, just to be clear for the audience?
Sure. The omega-6s are technically an essential fatty acid, meaning we don't make them, so we have to get them. But they compete with the omega-3 fats for conversion and placement. So the brain is made up of fat, as well as all of our cell membranes, and the type of fat that you eat actually dictates, in many respects, some of the structural material in the brain and in the cell membranes. So the omega-6s produce in the body the largely pro-inflammatory hormone-like compounds that make your blood thick and increase sensitivity to pain. Now, we need that. That's important. But in America, where we have a 1,000-fold increase in soybean oil from 1909 to 1999, in a culture here in America where we do not eat cold water oily fish and green leafy vegetables, we're drowning in omega-6s that produce pro-inflammatory hormone-like compounds. We are deficient, radically deficient, in omega-3 that produce the anti-inflammatory hormone-like compounds. So I'm not here to oversimplify anything. I'm suggesting that it's hard for our kids to optimize their performance if they are deficient in structural material that makes up the brain, and they're overloading in the other kind of fats that compete with those omega-3s.
Dr. Fleischer?
Well, who makes decisions about the food that is done in that the children get? How are those decisions made?
It's interesting you asked that. I was just at the International Society for the Study of Fatty Acids and Lipids, and that was the topic of the dinner debate. There's always a big debate there. I call it the big fat debate. And the debate was, who follows public health policy anyway? So you can write great public health policy. I just came back from Ireland, where written in their public health policy, they're banishing food advertisers from advertising high-caloric, high-sugar junk foods during the active times where children are most likely to watch television. We're probably never going to do anything like that here. But the idea that we move from the four food groups, right, to the food pyramid, which told us that we should carb up on everything, to the better food plate, it's still so difficult because just because we come up with good ideas, better ideas, doesn't mean anybody's going to follow it.
Well, all right, there is public policy, but who decides? I mean, somebody has to decide in schools what what foods are going to be served. Is that something that's decided at the local level? Is it decided in each individual school? It seems to me that this is extremely important to know.
It is, and you have spawned a question here and inspired me to now find out, because part of the challenge is, even if it does come from the federal level, the registered dietitians, which are the people that medical doctors will listen to, in many cases are working on very antiquated information. Remember, there was a huge push They promised us in the 60s to get away from saturated fats and to use unsaturated fats. They guaranteed us that diet heart health hypothesis that led to atherosclerosis and death. So then we put everybody on polyunsaturated fats and got away from the butter. Then we got everyone off all fats, and then we got fat. And then we got everybody on statin drugs and aspirin. So we keep missing some of the foundational parts of this. So even if it does come from the federal level, if they're working on, there's a huge disconnect between front bench line biochemists and clinicians and what the canons of academia are telling them. You go to a hospital to recover from a heart attack, most people are afraid to eat the food.
So you're saying that let me make sure I understand what you're saying, that there is a vicious cycle, self-reinforcing cycle of poverty associated with what we're really talking about here is mental illness. But you're saying that, but living in poverty for any, let's say, significant length of time increases all sorts of risk factors for health and mental health problems. You are more stressed, worried about money constantly, and how you're going to pay the bills or have enough money to eat. And some of this in somehow way, you think this translates to the kids? We're going to discuss that on the other side of this break. I'm Armstrong with for the show. It's flying by tonight.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Crust's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Crust menu. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrustBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Stuart Tomc, with over 20 years experience in the field of nutritional medicine, certified natural health professional, is one of North America's leading authorities on dietary supplements. You know, I guess what I'm really boiling it down to is just how much of mental health really contributes to what we eat. I've never really made that connection before. Stuart?
Well, my little contribution to this conversation is once you remove the socioeconomic issues that you've mentioned that is just a terrible, just debilitating, vicious cycle, and once you separate the people that truly have need for medication, because they are out there. There are people that really need the guidance of really qualified physicians. When you separate that part of it, if the brain is a computer made out of fat, and the most limiting fat that makes up the human brain comes from cold water, oily fish. Professor Crawford, who just won Brain of the Year, he shares that with Stephen Hawkins, in the 60s, was saying that the mental ill health that we're going to see in the future, he says the heart health, the failing heart health was predictive of future mental ill health. He knew that in the 60s. So what I'm suggesting is when we think of those factors that are outside of our control, and then we think of the modifiable factors that are within our control, what we eat may be the simplest thing on the list to change. And when you're in, I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, and we choose to eat something here for breakfast, I'll eat a can of sardines and an apple. That's $2.25. So when I lecture all over the world about nutrition and someone says it's too expensive to eat right, I think sometimes that's true, but my breakfast is pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yes.
I want to ask you, Doctor, also, you're talking about physical and mental health, and therefore, I assume, we could expect not only to think better if we were eating, as you're suggesting, and getting the right oils, but it would change mood too, wouldn't it?
Change
what?
Mood.
In other words, will it make people less depressed? Less depressed?
Yeah.
Well,
Could it reduce depression?
Yes. Well, the initial research is showing that it can blunt anxiety in substance abusers. I want to be very careful about the data that we have. So in at-risks like substance abusers, a major reduction in anxiety. I have a colleague over at UIC here in Chicago that has shown that when you combine the right levels of omega-3 fatty acids with serotonin selective reuptake inhibitors, that the combination therapy is better than the monotherapy because it makes the cells more sensitive to neurotransmission. So there's a good argument here. I will encourage people to look up Joe Hibblen, Hibblen, Joe Hibblen over at the National Institutes of Health, Hibblen. He's a psychiatrist, he's a captain in the Army, and he's written 250 peer-reviewed papers on this issue. So we want to be careful to paint with too broad of a brush, but there are many that believe that this massive deficiency in omega-3 is connected to a lot of our mental health challenges.
Dr. Fleischer, you seem startled.
I'm speechless here because I wonder how people get this information. Is this readily accepted
by having shows like this and inviting them on?
About this?
Well, no, the American Psychiatric Association, they have recommendations. The American Heart Association has recommendations. The American Pregnancy Association. Again, the disconnect is between the ivory tower and the rest of the world. We do a lot of research at Nordic Naturals, the company that I represent, where we work with major universities, and they're doing work. The military, for example, you might have seen last year there was a big report on military suicide that is higher than it's ever been.
Yes.
Well, they tested all the blood of these tragic victims of suicide and found that you were at a 67% increased risk of suicide, correlation, not causation, from having this massive omega-3 deficiency. In the journal Lancet, back in the late 1980s, correlated the highest rates of seafood consumption, 150 pounds per person per year, in Japan, for example, correlated to the lowest rates of postpartum depression, major depression, and homicide mortality rates. So I'm suggesting that we reevaluate our food policies. We've got a protein-based food policy.
Yes.
We make sure that people are real tall. We need a lipid-based food policy because the brain is a computer made out of fat. If you want to increase brain cell-to-brain cell communication, if you want to decrease vasoconstriction and increase neuroplasticity, if you want the brain to be firing properly and more sensitive to neurotransmission, it better have the structural stuff that it's made of, and if you're not eating fish, you're out of luck.
What about vegetarians?
Oh, vegetarians now have algae. They have algae omega, so you can get algae, EPA, and DHA. Vegetarians and vegans can eat more seaweed, and they can eat more purslane, and they can eat more dark green leafy vegetables. But if vegans and vegetarians are eating seed oils, most vegans and vegetarians I know are eating almond butter all the time and grape seed oil. All those seed oils are loaded with the omega-6s that are depriving them of the optimal benefit of the omega-3. So this is a tricky conversation because people try to oversimplify the most ideal health regime, and you could be out of balance if you're a vegetarian, and you could be out of balance if you're a fish eater. If you fry that fish you eat in vegetable oil.
Woo!
Does frying the fish in vegetable oil reduces the amount of omega-3s?
Because it increases the omega-6s, and because they compete.
Well, that's the only thing I fry fish in. Yes.
The enzyme that converts omega-3 or omega-6 is promiscuous, just like the COX and LOX enzymes that convert the long-chain omega-3s into the pro- or anti-inflammatory. So when I say this is a story about competition and conversion for placement, if you have the best wild-caught cold water oily fish and you fry it in safflower oil, you're taking in so much omega-6 that you've essentially squandered most of the benefit of the omega-3.
So what should I fry it in?
I would say canola oil for any of the high heat oils. A lot of people dislike canola oil because it got a bad rap from a long time ago. So macadamia nut oil. My mentor put together a free website, which I want to give out to everybody, called fastlearner.org. Fast, F-A-S-T, because we're all fast learner. Fastlearner.org. And if you go to fastlearner.org, it's a free website where you can look up every food in the U.S. Department of Agriculture's database and look up the omega-3-6 balance in cereals, fish, nuts, packaged foods, sweets, restaurant foods, and do some homework, and you can make more judicious food choices. For example, if you eat a big omega-6 breakfast, maybe you'll have a higher omega-3 dinner so that you get the balance that you need.
This is
but
good
it would
stuff.
be best to eat a high omega-3 breakfast and a high omega-3 dinner.
Well, I would think so, but it's hard to get people to change.
Well, I just wondered if omega-6 fat is primarily from meat.
Well, omega-6, there's two different types of omega-6. You've got omega-6, what we call LA, linoleic acid or linoleate. That comes from seeds and seed oils.
Uh-huh.
And then that's converted into the long-chain omega-6 arachidonic acid, which you find when you eat the meat products. So the meat has preformed arachidonic acid. The body takes arachidonic acid, converts it into pro-inflammatory compounds that thickens your blood, increase sensitivity to pain. Aspirin blocks that enzyme. Aspirin works by knocking out the COX enzyme so that you stop converting all the arachidonic acid into these pro-inflammatory compounds. Omega-3s start out as green leafy vegetables, and then they're converted into the longer chain fats that make up your brain and the ones necessary for heart function. So if you eat more green leafy vegetables and less seed oils, we all probably eat too much meat or meat products or eggs and so forth. What we really need are more fish, and EPA and DHA. So it is complicated. It's not an easy conversation to have, no matter who you are, to make sense of this.
But it's a conversation we should have, and I think we all understand it.
I think we should push the conversation as much as possible, as I know you do on your show, because this is critical information, and I think that we've been lured, especially in my industry, the idea of the silver bullet. I mean, people like Dr. Oz, I know they mean the very, very best.
But they're dangerous.
Well, I mean, they could be there. They could possibly oversimplify.
They do oversimplify. Come on, you're being nice.
I'm trying to be kind.
Yeah. You know what? I love what you're saying because, when I went to my doctor a couple of years ago and he was telling me how I needed to eat fish and fish and fish and fish and this olive oil and all this other stuff, peanut oil. And literally for the last 2 years, I'd be shocked if I miss eating fish once every day. And I could tell the difference. In fact, somebody asked me, what are you doing that's different? Listen, you know when something works. You know when something works for your body. And all these vitamins that people advocate, you get your best vitamins from the vegetables and from the food that you eat.
I completely agree. I sometimes get some crazy looks when I'm teaching the people at Whole Foods or at Vitamin Shop or these big stores that sell all these supplements, that if you quit smoking and ate less and worked out more and stop eating Pam and Spam and Ding Dongs and chicken nuggets and Hoes and Krispy Kremes and don't eat a bag of sugar the size of your body every year, ditch the trans fatty acids, eat more fruits and vegetables.
We're out of time. I'm so sorry. Thank you, everybody. This is so exciting today. Oh, my goodness.